Annie and Snowball and the Pink Surprise. Annie's garden. Annie and her bunny Snowball like to grow flowers in Annie's backyard. Annie had petunias and lilies and roses and 4 o'clocks. 4 o'clocks were her favorites. When Annie's cousin Henry, who lived next door, would come over with his big dog, Much, sometimes they all would sit in Annie's garden. "Be careful, Much," Annie would say. "Don't squash the 4 o'clocks." Much was careful. He didn't squash the 4 o'clocks, but he did drool on a few lilies. Snowball just liked to hide in the roses. "I see you, Snowball," Henry would call. Snowball just wiggle her nose. A visitor. One day when Annie and Henry were in the garden, they saw the most wonderful sight, a hummingbird. A hummingbird was drinking from a petunia. "Oh," said Annie. "Wow," said Henry. "I've never seen a hummingbird." Much and Snowball didn't really care. They were napping. But Annie and Henry were so excited, and they wondered how they could get more hummingbirds to come to Annie's garden. They started thinking. "More petunias?" asked Henry. "I've spent my whole allowance already," said Annie. "I can't buy any more petunias." Said Henry. "Well, we will just have to advertise." "Advertise?" asked Annie. "Sure," said Henry. "We have to let more hummingbirds know that you are here and that you have petunias." "How do we let them know?" asked Annie, picking up Snowball and rubbing her ears. "Let's ask my dad," said Henry. "He says he knows everything." Annie smiled. They found Henry's dad in his garage. He was making a bookcase, or trying to. It was a little crocked. "It's a little crocked, Dad," Henry said. Said Henry's dad. He stepped back. "Well, I just have to buy only books that lean to the right," he said. Annie laughed. Henry's dad was so silly. "Dad, we need to attract hummingbirds," said Henry. "Do you know how?" Said Henry's dad. "How about petunias?" "I have petunias," said Annie, "but only one hummingbird." Said Henry's dad again. He thought for a minute while Snowball crawled on his head and Much sat on his foot. "Maybe colors," he finally said. "Maybe more colors in the garden." "What color are your petunias?" he asked Annie. "Pink," said Annie. "Then pink it is," said Henry's dad. "Put more pink in the garden and see what happens." He looked again at his bookcase. "Maybe I'll buy books that lean to the right, and we'll move to a house that leans to the left," he said. Henry and Annie just smiled. "Very pink." "Pink stuff," said Henry as they walked back to Annie's house. "We need pink stuff." looked at Annie. You should have plenty of pink stuff, he said. You're nothing but pink. I know, said Annie. Let's check my room. They went to Annie's room, pink everywhere. Henry picked up a small chair. Pink, he said. He picked up a large ball. Pink again. Henry and Annie loaded up 10 very pink things and took them to Annie's garden. They set them in the strange high places for hummingbirds to see. I sure hope this works, said Annie. Me too, said Henry. Because if it doesn't, I'm going to feel pretty silly. Annie looked at Henry holding a pink umbrella. You look pretty silly now, she said, and she giggled and giggled. Come and see. It took 4 days. Annie and Snowball sat in the garden every morning hoping for hummingbirds. Nothing on the first day, nothing on the second day, 1 on the third day, and 8 on the fourth day. 8 hummingbirds. Annie ran over to get Henry. Come and see, she said. Henry and Mudge hurried to Annie's garden, and there they saw 8 beautiful, tiny hummingbirds drinking from Annie's petunias. They like pink, said Annie. Maybe they just like umbrellas, Henry said. A hummingbird suddenly darted over. It hovered above Mudge's head. Or maybe they just like Mudge, said Annie. Well, who wouldn't? Asked Henry. Then Annie and Snowball and Henry and Mudge spent the whole morning watching their wonderful birds.